Well, today was day 4 of Donald Trump's criminal trial in Manhattan, and we'll get to some legal analysis with our legal expert, Aaron Parnas, of what's taken place thus far. But first, I want to check in on Trump's post-trial rant session. He heads into the courtroom and rants to reporters, and then he does so on the way out, just sort of the daily routine we're getting used to. And this time, it went really wrong really fast and got very strange, with Trump just flipping through a pile of papers that are printed out articles about this case. And I guess some member of his team selected all the ones from outlets that would speak positively about him. And then he's just shuffling through them, using this as proof of how unfair the case is or something, which not exactly the strongest argument when you pick a bunch of Fox News headlines or the like to bolster your message. But here's clip 1.
That's a nice headline. I'd like to read that one too. But every one of them lies about the case. Justice is on trial. You know, the whole world is watching this New York scam.
Just a really strange performance there. Having the world's media observe as you flip through pieces of paper. Again, carefully selected headlines to make Trump feel good. And they printed it out for him so he could read it out to people saying, see, they think it's unfair too, so it has to be. People who make a living singing my praises, can you imagine, are singing my praises right now. And then you have Trump complaining about how cold it was in court.
And it's a shame. It's a shame. And I'm sitting here for days now, from morning till night, in that freezing room. Freezing. Everybody was freezing in there.
I'm going to really quickly pause your viewing of this video to ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just click that subscribe button, plus the like button as well, and the alert bell so you get notifications. Back to it.
And all for this, and this is your result. Look at that. Each one of them is story. And it's very unfair, very bad thing. Very bad thing. The whole world is watching this hoax.
Yeah, so again, not the most compelling argument you could imagine. It's cold in the courtroom and it's unfair, and see, I have a stack of papers to prove it. He even seems a little lost and confused. I think there's only so many things you can say when you have this cycle of dishonest talking points that he runs through, right? Oh, it's horrible, the Biden witch hunt, even though Biden's not at all involved, and our country's going to hell, and this is injustice and whatever. Okay, and then you run out of them, but then he keeps coming back and forth, so he keeps having to, or wanting to, talk in front of these cameras, and then he just ends up doing this. And that's why you could see those strange pauses where you can tell he doesn't even know what point he's making about it being too cold. Here's a little more.
But it shouldn't go right because they have no case, and that's what this is all about. And it really is a shame. This country is devolving into a third world country, between having no borders, having no justice, we have no justice, and having a press that doesn't want to cover the facts. So thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
So just the same lies there, and one more clip, then we'll get into the legal analysis.
Jonathan Turley, Greg Jarrett, Andrew McCarthy, every one of them saying they call it a zombie case, meaning it is no case. And they say, is it constitutional? They don't think the case is. These are all stories that have taken place over the last few days. Take a look at
So that's some pretty powerful stuff. I want to bring in our legal expert, Aaron Parnas. I'm getting nervous, Aaron, that he could have the thought that he could bring this legal strategy into his trial and just cause the prosecution to crumble. Reading headlines of Sean Hannity's latest blog, I mean, what's stronger legally than that in exonerating Trump?
Honestly, what's stronger is whatever they did in the E. Jean Carroll case. I mean, it's just flabbergasting, in my opinion, of Trump's legal strategy and what he's trying to do in this criminal case. I mean, what you're going to see is something called jury nullification. Donald Trump is going to, and his attorneys, I predict, are going to try to, outside of their regular legal arguments, they're going to try to say how unfair this trial is, how he should have never been brought to trial in the first place. All of these things of like, even if he's guilty based on the law, you shouldn't find him guilty. That's kind of the definition of jury nullification. So I expect that to be kind of like a subtle undertone in their arguments over the next several weeks.
Got it. So today was day 3 of Trump's trial. Obviously, they got Wednesday off, day 3. And tell us about what has gone on. I know we have big news about the jury finally getting selected.
Yeah, so as Judge Merchan said, we have a jury. So you have 12 jurors who have been selected, 12 fair and impartial jurors, and you also have one alternate juror who is selected. You're going to have jury selection again tomorrow, where you'll have, because remember, there needs to be 6 alternates total, so they need to pick 5 more jurors essentially, but your first 12 jurors are set. And Judge Merchan believes that trial could begin on Monday with opening statements. And it's funny, at the end of the day today, the prosecution kind of said, "Oh, well, like we're gonna be prepared to put up our case on Monday or Tuesday." And Todd Blanche, Trump's attorneys, asked as a courtesy, "Can you let me know who your first 3 witnesses are?" Right? And typically, I mean, there's no issues with that. The prosecution hands over the witnesses so the defense can prepare. But in this case, the prosecution essentially said no, because Trump has attacked all these witnesses on Truth Social. And the judge agreed. The judge said, essentially, typically he'd allow it, but here he's not going to order the prosecution to give over any information because, unfortunately, Blanche can't control Trump. And despite Blanche's best efforts, he's not getting those witness names.
That seems profoundly reasonable because, like you said, yeah, that would be what prompts Trump to spend all weekend raging about these witnesses. So walk us through the next steps. They have a trial tomorrow?
Yeah, so they'll have jury selection your final day tomorrow. You have a panel of about 96 jurors at a time who are sworn in. They're questioned. You go through strikes for cause if there's a legitimate reason to strike them, and then preemptory strikes, which are you can strike them for almost any reason outside of race, sex, things like that. So they'll go through that process again, like they've been going through the past few days, and then once a jury is picked, whether it's tomorrow or Monday, you'll have opening statements afterwards. Remember, so Judge Merchan said Monday and Tuesday, because of the Passover holiday, they're going to work until about 2 p.m. It's not going to be full days. And then Wednesday, the court is off, so there'll be no trial. But you should have opening statements Monday or Tuesday, and then you'll have likely your first witness take the stand shortly thereafter or after opening statements. And that first witness, I mean, could be big. Could be anyone from Stormy Daniels to Michael Cohen to Hope Hicks. I mean, we don't know yet, but expect fireworks in the next week.
So I was going to ask, what would you predict will be the most notable moments that we should be on the lookout for? Which parts of this process are going to be the most notable?
Yeah, so I think there are 3 notable moments. You're going to have opening statements, which are going to be like the first salvo, right? Like, here's what we're going to prove. Then you're going to have the big witnesses in the prosecution case over the next couple of weeks, which are Michael Cohen, Hope Hicks, and Stormy Daniels. Those are the ones that Trump is most afraid of. And the cross-examination of Michael Cohen specifically is going to be must-watch TV. And then the final big thing to watch and look out for is Donald Trump going to take the witness stand? Now, Donald Trump has said repeatedly he is going to take the witness stand. But as an attorney who has represented criminal defendants in criminal matters, I will be the first to tell you that taking the witness stand is not always the best idea. Everyone has the right to testify on their own behalf, but it's not always advised that they do so. Because remember, criminal defendants don't have the burden of proof. The prosecution has the burden of proof. So I would expect there to be some heated conversations behind the scenes between Trump's attorneys and Trump over whether or not he should take the witness stand, because Luke, as we know, Trump is his own worst enemy.
Yeah, and I think strategically Trump often will, or I guess I'm referencing one big moment in that E. Jean Carroll trial, bombastically, publicly act like he wants to testify. I think even he probably understands why he shouldn't, but we'll see how it plays out. Then I'm curious, what have you made of the jurors that have been selected? Obviously, we don't know every single detail about them, but some information has been reported on in terms of their media diet and their ability to be impartial. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. A lot of these jurors are kind of just like everyday people. And that's what you would expect when you take a random sampling of 96 members of society. But you'll have, on this jury, there are 2 attorneys, which is very interesting because as an attorney picking a juror, an attorney is almost always your worst enemy as an attorney because they know the law. So there are 2 attorneys. I believe there's one juror who's actually read The Art of the Deal, one of Donald Trump's books. One of those jurors actually also follows Donald Trump on Truth Social and also follows Michael Cohen on Twitter. So it's a very interesting sampling of jurors, but when you kind of go through jury selection in a case like this, almost more than half of the jurors thus far have been thrown out before they even got to questioning, really, because of inherent biases and just them not being fair and impartial. I think he's got a fair and impartial jury here. I think even if folks on the jury, and some have said that they personally may have had a negative opinion of Trump at some point, but they can be fair and impartial. And that's all you want here. All 12 of them know who Donald Trump is. He was the president of the United States. And I believe some of them also know some facts about the case, but that ultimately can't go into, that doesn't change whether or not they're fair and impartial. So it'll be a fair and impartial jury.
Wow. What a moment. Aaron, where can people find you?
On all my social platforms, just at Aaron Parnas.